All right, Kristen, here we go for part 2, the quilt category. So your first question was on that multi-purpose tool. And the multi-purpose tool is designed, I'll grab mine right here, to do several different things. And one of them is to insert your needle using this hole, and you'll insert it correctly because the flat part is to the back. Then you can use these for buttons, sewing on buttons too, for a low shank or a high shank button. But more importantly is when you sew bulky things. For example, I use jean fabric as one of them. If you have, and now this machine has more power than any other FOF machine on the market. So it will go through a real thick piece of fabric. See how thick that is? So what it does though is when you sew, the foot acts like it's going up over a mountain, and the stitches are very short in the beginning, and then they straighten out, and then when you climb down from the mountain then you tend to lose accurate stitching. So what this is meant to do is and let me highlight my machine right now, and then I'll show you. So let me do that. Come on, wake up. All right, participants, and mine's iPad. Okay, doke, here we go. So this is my sample for today's lesson. So here you have okay. So here you have your seam. You're going to be stitching your seam, and you have made a seam with the 2 pieces of fabric like this. So now when you fold over this so that you have these thicknesses, oftentimes you can get started sewing down here, but to get over that hump is pretty miserable, even if it's thick here. Terry cloth is another example. Your thick bags are another example. So what you do is you slide this, depending on the thickness, you slide this underneath your foot, and now you have leveled it off. Okay, whoops. See, because it's now on equal height with, there we go, let's try this again. Popped it out. Now let me get a side view. Okay, so now, as you can see, these 2 thicknesses are the same height. So you get started right on top and then continue stitching, and all of those stitches are even. It looks like this. Let's see. Uh-oh, I forgot. I got to put the, and here, this side too. I got to put the screen up. The sun is shining. Well, no, it's kind of cloudy.
The sun is shining beautifully here today.
Oh, what's the temperature?
I don't think it's supposed to hit the 60s. I'm not sure. It's kind of, it was chilly out this morning for sure.
Yeah, it's 60 here. Alexa, what's the temperature? Alexa, what is the temperature today?
It's 55 degrees.
55.
Today, expect a high of 68 degrees.
68 is our high.
Well, then we're probably only hitting the 50s. There's no way we're hitting 60 then. But the rain's coming for us tomorrow.
Oh,
It's gonna be bad tomorrow.
Yeah, this is a time of the year that we're never sure of the weather.
We're not. I keep bringing my plants in because it keeps dropping to like the low 30s at night, and I don't want my
Yeah.
plants to die.
Yeah, I think we're over the low 30s. That's usually the first couple of weeks in January, but we're still cold enough that it can be 40s. Last night it was 42 or something like that. I love the cold weather up to a point. So,
Right.
and you know,
Well,
that's
I grew
Go
up
ahead.
in Pennsylvania, so I hate the cold weather. And so it's cold here.
that would do it. Yep. So does that, I mean, here's the other one, and I'm not sure if that will answer your question or not, but you see the top stitching?
You see, so does this thing stay in there, or it just
No.
gives you the level and you take it out?
Yeah, after, so if I'm starting sewing, then once, here, hang on, let me do it. I gotta make sure I'm on a straight stitch. Yep, okay. So what you have to make sure is that you have the right, it's on the, lined up with the center, so you don't break a needle. So now what I do is, let me move in a little bit more. There we go. So then what I do here is, see, I start sewing. So I'm sewing my really heavy thickness. And then once I get going, then it pops out. So then when you come to the other end, now this machine handles this thickness quite well. So it's not an issue, but I'll show you my bag where it was an issue. So now I'm coming down here and I just slide this up until I'm done. And now all the stitches are even.
Oh.
Instead of being real close together. Yeah. Here, let me see if I can show you. Other than my crooked stitching. See?
Yeah.
So that's the purpose of it. However, when you get something as thick as this, and this was miserable even on this machine, see all those thicknesses? Let me see if I can show you this. See, this is my bag. And I used my bag to do a lot of quilting and using the decorative stitches, etc. But then when I was ready to sew these flaps onto and underneath this binding, this part here was super thick. So when I put it under the machine to stitch around, what I did was, in order to get over it, I had to, you can also put it to the side like this. I had to line that up so that it would be even with this. Otherwise, it just, and then you're stitching, I'm looking to see my stitching's pretty even.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense. Yeah, I've broke a few needles off in my face trying to sew some
yes.
thick.
Right. So you will find that this machine can go through many, many thicknesses.
Okay.
Without hesitating. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me see if I got anything else going on here.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was the only one I didn't do because the video on the machine, it just didn't make sense to me. And then
okay.
But
does it make sense now?
Yeah, I did everything else on the worksheet though.
Oh, good. Wonderful. Rarely does that happen in my classroom and my customers.
Oh,
right. So
no, the YouTube videos were great, and I actually should have watched them first because I tried to do it first watching the machine videos.
Oh,
but they made a lot more sense after watching the YouTube videos.
Yes, right. And the downside of the YouTube videos is you really can't ask any questions. So just like you had a question about this, there's no one to ask. So
Yeah.
that works for me.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I was thinking too that I'm assuming we're going to be going next week as well, next Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. I think what we'll do is we'll jump to embroidery next Saturday.
Sounds good.
And then at least you'll have some of the basics started before we go into the specialty stitches.
Okay.
Okay. So that at least you can get, and you've embroidered before, right?
Like I did like 3 things on my machine. I'm very green. Like I do not know very much at all about it.
Okay. That's perfect. That works for me.
And I taught myself by watching YouTube videos how to use my other machine, and I never got very good at it. I found that machine very frustrating because you had to switch a lot of things back and forth to sew and then to embroider. And
Yes. And this is so simple. It really is. And I don't even mind changing the sewing foot to the embroidery foot because it's so much easier than the older FOFs. And that I used to dread.
yeah, I haven't tried to do it yet, but just looking at the attachment, it looks way less complicated than my brother machine. That one,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not sure the software, but I would guess that your brother has some basic software.
There's just basic stuff loaded into it. And I never went as far to, if you mean by software, I never bought anything like my SewNet like that we have here. I never.
Well, what I was thinking is there's so much more you can do within the screen on this machine than I'm guessing with your brother. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What was the but that will help me if I know. What was the model number on that brother?
Oh, it was an SE 1900.
1900. All right. So that'll give me a couple of, I like to compare what you started with and see the difference in what you currently have. So I'll check on that before next Saturday. So okay. I hope, honestly, this week went by so fast. Yeah. Does it go equally as fast when you're working? Because see, I've forgotten.
It does. You know, and I work longer days, so by the time I get home, sometimes it's 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and
yeah, that's like me on Mondays and Fridays. I'm wasted. I'm lucky I can eat dinner. I eat dinner like this. Yeah. All righty. So with our quilt category, let me show you what my sample looks like. So this is my pillow cover. And what I did is I tried to incorporate several different techniques that are in the quilting category. So what you see here is an applique, and the sun rays are an applique also.
Okay.
Then this sunshine word is an applique, and what I used to tack it down was what we call the E stitch. The machine calls it the pin stitch, the blind, what's somebody call it? Applique stitch, pin, like I said, the pin stitch, etc. But it's this stitching that goes stitch and swing, stitch, stitch, swing, swing. And here, I'll zoom in and you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah. See what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a little bit difficult to do and stay on track, as you can see right here. But it was an excellent example of how to use that with the small curves. The smaller the curve, the smaller the stitch should be. Now, this is one of my favorite stitches. I guess it is my favorite stitch. This is the hand look quilt stitch. Mm-hmm. And I use it a lot to accent my pieces as well as the stipple stitches right here. Now on my bag, that one stippling stitch I do not show it on here, but it's in the same category.
Okay.
So this is an invisible stitch right here. And we'll talk about monofilament thread in a minute. This is the satin stitch. And then you'll see down here, I'm not sure if you can, let's see if I can, this time I'll pick it up. I don't know if you can see where I use the hand look quilt stitch to do a continuous outline for this.
Yeah, I can see it now there.
Okay, so that is why I put this whole thing together so that I could have a visual for everyone to understand how these quilt stitches go together.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that category right now. So we'll go over here. And, oh, let me turn that light off. That might be part of my problem. Okay. That seems to be better. So let me sit down and rearrange myself. So when you turn on your machine, it comes to the basic straight stitch. Now I want to show you something else that you can do if you choose to. Anytime that you long hold on a stitch like this, a smart toolbox will pop up. And what you can do is you can edit it side to side, end to end, but you can also save as your default stitch. Now the default stitch in this machine is the 2.5. Right there. Say the 2. Now, if I change it to 3.0, or actually go down to 2.0 because I'm doing paper piecing, and that I want that always to be up first, then what I can do is I can save that as my default stitch, and it will be it'll override that 2.5 setting. So that's nice. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of machines that don't have that in their software. So that's a nice feature, kind of universal for everybody. I don't do a lot of piecing, so I actually prefer the 2.5, and now I can just override it and save that as my default stitch.
So you're saying
I wanted to point that out.
If you're piecing together a quilt, you should do it 2.0.
Yeah. Only, yeah, if you feel comfortable, but I can, if I pull this up, I can easily change this. So I'm okay with whatever is set. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we're going to pop up to this icon where we load the stitch. And the first category was utility. We went over that last week. The second category is hand look quilt stitches. All right. Or the quilt category is quilt. And the subcategory 2.1 is the hand look quilt stitches. So if you get an opportunity, I'll actually send you the link to a couple of webinars that Bob is putting on this coming week, so that you can take a look at them. One of the ambassadors is doing crazy patch stitches, and crazy patch stitches is number 3, 2.3. And I'm all about those decorative stitches because I love to create projects with lots of decorative stitches. And show you my pincushion again, because this is a handy project to have. So which stitch is this? 25. So now the green one right here, see how much bolder it is? That's stitch number 25. And when you look at it, you can see that this stitch is larger than that one because I altered it. I changed the length. I probably changed the width. And so I wanted a bigger punch than that. So these are using polyester thread, which is shiny, but when I use cotton thread, it looks authentic. Looks just like you hand sewed that, those crazy patch stitches. Okie doke. So let's go back to the category. So what I wanted to do was show you something on this category. All right, as soon as we zoom in. This straight stitch, if you tap the question mark, that is a quilting straight stitch, is a tie off right on the spot. So it's great for quilters. So wherever you are, you can push the tie off and it'll tie it off right there. But more importantly, if I tap that and open it up, I can actually reduce the stitches by 1 millimeter increment. Now, if you recall, when I showed you on the previous stitch and utilities, previous straight stitch, we went from 2.5 to 2.0 right away. So a question on the Facebook group was one time was someone wanted to use 2.2 as her straight stitch. And unfortunately, this one goes 2.3 to 2.1. I have no idea why, but it does. So she would have to pick 2.1 or 2.3 to get 2.2. But what I want to show you next is this hand look quilt stitch. And if you look at the hand look quilt stitch, it is set for use with monofilament thread in the needle. I have a little trick that I use with this stitch to avoid sewing with monofilament, although I will do it today. So what you can see is there's what the stitch looks like as set by machine. Now, here's what it looks like when I manipulate the stitch. Right? See, I lengthen the stitch and I also increase the bobbin tension. And I'll explain that in just a minute. So let's move this so I don't knock it over. So when I do the stitch the way it's set by the machine, it recommends the 0A foot. So I'm going to swap out 1A for the 0A. Now I'm quite certain you didn't have time to do all these different samples, so you can do it at your leisure. So this one is a sandwich, a quilt batting, and this is cotton, and then there's just a batting in between the two layers of cotton. Okay, so then when I start sewing, I am going to sew, let's see, put it down. Oops, now it says my IDT is not in, so I'm going to take it up. Yeah. Let's shift forward. There we go. And I got to slow down my speed because it's going to fly away. And what it does is it does 3 little small stitches and then jumps. 3 little small stitches and jumps. You'll see it more when you sew it. So that's what it looks like. Let's see if I can see what it looks like. Okay. Now, when I get my monofilament, Oh, yeah, yeah. Do I have an end? Oh, this thread drives me nuts. They, have you ever used it?
I'd say I don't even sure that I have anything like that.
Probably a good idea. I can't even find, let me see if I can find the end. Oh, boy.
Looks very shiny.
There it is. It's, looks just like fishing line. Look. You can hardly see it.
Yeah.
Here. See, it's supposed to blend right in with your fabric. I know you can't see it, but it's there. There's a piece right there of thread.
Yeah, I can hardly see.
But it's supposed, the idea is that it blends in with the fabric. Now I want to show you something else on this screen. Oops. All of these stitches that have a dotted line in between them are actually digitized with monofilament thread in mind. Now, it can be tiresome trying to thread the machine, also worrying about whether anything is caught in the machine or not. So I'm gonna show you the trick, the threading, monofilament and metallic thread too. All right. So let's see if I can. Let me bring up my iPad. There we go. Okay. So I put the spool right here on the spool cap, and instead of going up to this thread guide in the telescoping piece, I am going to go to this thread guide right here. And I am going to continue sewing, threading, I'm sorry. Continue threading as if it were just regular white thread. And let me show you. Okay. All right. Now, the other trick is it doesn't really thread the needle very well. Not at all, actually. So I now have to thread it by hand, which I'm not a big fan of because it's wiry. Oh boy. And now you can understand why I'm not a big fan of this thread. Okay. So I got it threaded. Yay me. So now I am going to stitch the same stitch. Waiting for it to. Okay. Oops. Wrong one. I must have tapped something when I was talking. Now with this, I don't use the thread cutter because I might lose it and not even know it.
Okay.
And then I bring a long connecting thread. Can you barely, can you even see that? There's barely, boy, is that invisible. There it is, right there. Right here.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. All right. Now, the tension is so tight that it brings up the bobbin thread. So when you use a contrasting thread, you can see that it brings it up and shows that red quite nicely. Okay, now my little trick is to increase the length to 8. Okay, and then can you see the tension discs right here?
Yeah.
Okay, the tension discs are at 6. I'm going to make it even tighter and bring up that bobbin thread even more. There you go. Okay, so it's real easy. 8 and 8 is easier to remember. All right, now here comes the trick. That color is a gold, and it's tough to make something. Usually I use white, but I thought this would show up better on camera. So here's my yellowish to match. Even that's a little bit too yellowish. Let me see if I have them. You know, I have lots of threads, as you might. One day we'll have this many. This is just one of them. All right, let's try. I'll be darned, I actually have something that, no, let's try this one. These spools are old. They're also old, they've yellow. See, and that's a little dark. So I'm trying really hard to find something. I think these are too dark. So what I'm going to do, see how you pull out just a single thread to see how it looks?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't see that, but you'll understand my example.
Yeah.
So if I can see it, then it's not going to blend in. So let me try this one. So I'm going to go with this one because it doesn't show up as much as this one. So what you want to do, which is why I use the white, it's easier to find a spool of white thread. What you want to do is to find something that matches your top fabric. So the top fabric as closely as you can. So now here's another trick. When you pull out the thread, cut it here, which is the hard part. Cut it here. And pull it from the needle. Then you'll be sure that no threads get caught up inside here when you use the monofilament. For a new person like you, a newbie,
Mm-hmm.
I would stay away from monofilament.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like I want to use it.
No, but it's great for people who want, when they do quilting, who want to quilt in the ditch or something and don't want to match the top thread with all the different colors that are in your quilt. Mm-hmm. And that's what they use it for, but I'm not a huge fan of it. So let me thread this. Real quick. And then this one does actually thread the needle. Okay, now I'm going to stitch it. Remember, it does a couple stitches and then it jumps. Oops, broke the thread. That is a downside to it because the tension is so tight that it will break the thread. Let's see, there you go. See the difference?
Yeah.
when I lengthened it to 8 and 8. So this is okay. Let's see if I have something else. I don't think I do. No, I don't have anything that'll write on this fabric. Let's try this. Boy, this is a battle. Well, what I was gonna do was, it's not worth it right now. I was gonna write down stitch length equals 8 and tension equals 8. So that, but I already know the settings because I use them so often, and I did include it in the handout. But you can also save that stitch. So I'm going to close this. And I can save it using the heart. There we go. All right. Okay, and you see it goes to your cloud and it says new stitch. But what I do is I rename it. And uppercase, lowercase. And call it the hand look stitch. Whoops.
And you do those settings even if you're not using that thread.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can save any stitch. It becomes an SPX, so that when I go into cloud here, you'll see it right here, right next to my witch's hat. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Right there? Or if I go to the listing,
It'll be in there. Okay.
there it is. Hand look stitch SPX. And then this stitch before it, this SPX, is that witch's hat. And the reason it's a number is because it was free from the block. And then I have a sequin stitch, and then below it, you'll see I have a snowman, VP3, and VP3 format is what this machine recognizes. So if you pick anything on another website, for example, embroidery online or any of those other websites, Sweet Pea, make sure you get the VP3 format.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's my snowman. And that crazy, these were things I got off of designs and machine embroidery. They were free designs. So, okay.
Okay.
Are we good? Now I'm going to go back to the quilt category. And if I pick another stitch like this one, that is a pin stitch with monofilament thread. Okay, I can, let me know when you're ready. I'm going to go warm up my coffee while you're saving that. All righty.
There we go.
All righty, now. What I did is I made some samples to finish out this example here, and I labeled them. And I did the same technique by using the white thread as matching.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to try out this stitch 2.1.7. Looks like this. And I wanted to show you that this pin stitch has a monofilament going up along the side. And let's see what it looks like. Oh, you know what? I forgot to rethread it. Ugh, that was dumb. See, I get sidetracked. All right, let's try this again. All right, so that's what that one looks like. There we go. So it just is a little bit of a bite along the edge of the fabric. Now, when would you use this? Well, I just got an email from my Sonnet today, and this is a perfect example. So let me get into my email. I don't think I was on a rampage this morning deleting emails because I had so many. And I must have deleted it. Okay, let me just go into my Sonnet library.
You know, I get hundreds of emails every day. I almost lost your email amongst all the junk mail.
I so get it. You know, I had 4,000 emails this morning. I just said enough is enough. And I just started deleting.
Yeah.
Mass deleting. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen. Advanced. Or should screen. Okay. So here's my Sonnet library, and here are the latest designs. These are border designs, and then some of them look really nice.
Yeah, pretty.
And then here's the popular categories currently: spring, Easter, flowers, Valentine's Day. But I'm looking for a new project. Now, they changed this a little bit, and that's what I wanted to show you today, is right under here, right here is the studio now. And if you go down to studio and you go to how-tos, these are the different categories that you can explore. You have platinum, so you would pick this platinum level software. However, there still are other things that you can use. They're probably the same as gold and silver because this is the top of it. There's a button heart pillow, how to sew on buttons. Pretty timely, huh? Let's see what it looks like. And there's your pillow. Oh, I have a bunch of red buttons too. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Like I don't have it, like I don't have anything to do, Kristen.
Right.
And then there's that button sew on foot. And then it shows
I
you.
don't have that.
No, that's an extra foot. And you can order them and we can mail them. And then anything I feature right now is 20% off.
Oh.
So you probably would have to call the store because I don't know for certain if you can order these or not. But there it is. Okay.
It did like I was able to do it without that foot. Like it did fine. It didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course they want to sell that foot.
I don't know. Like it didn't seem necessary, but
No. All righty. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to scroll down. And here are a couple of cute little projects that you can work with. All right, where is that table runner? Okay, let's try another how-to. Projects, let's try that. So home deck, let's try home deck. Oh, this is cute though too. This heart denim pillows, this one, they have revamped this site. So I'm so impressed by the quality of their work.
yeah.
And then it shows you step by step how to make that. I want to make this one too. Oh boy. But this is the one that I'm referencing. And if you look at the directions for this table runner, they give you the template, which are the pages, including the table runner in its entirety, not just the hearts, so that you can put on the ribbons, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell you to look for a certain stitch. And see, you're stitching on the ribbons there, and now you're pressing on the hearts. But I'm going to see if I can zoom in. There. So this is the stitch they're looking for. That 1.1, I mean, not one. That's a dot, dot, overcast, dot, dot, overcast, dot, etc. That's exactly this stitch that they're referencing. Oh, you can't see that.
Actually, your one little screen is still up there on your iPad.
Oh, so which one is my, oh yeah.
I can see my sewn up, but you have another 3 screens up there, so I can still see.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you. But anyhow, that's it. And so then what you can do is you can just be inspired. And that's another one. This is definitely advanced. You're putting mini designs inside an alphabet letter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I gotta reset. That was 150. There we go. I today am going to do this Valentine placement. Because this placemat screams my name because I love black, white, and red. My whole wardrobe is like that. I started that when the last few years I was teaching. I had like 5 pairs of black pants, and then I had different red tops and white tops, and it was like a no-brainer. It basically was my uniform. And it really helps. Do you wear a uniform to work then?
Yeah, we have to wear navy blue scrubs. So
So yours is probably the opposite. You wear other fabrics and designs and colors on the weekend, I'm sure.
I actually don't. I really just prefer to be in gray, black, very
There's
soft.
your colors. There they are. But this one is using the Platinum software. And gives you different steps by steps. So what I'll do is I'll work on the software on my computer with my iPad next to it so I can read the steps. Isn't technology wonderful? All right, so let's stop sharing that one. Okay, and we're back to this. Okie doke. All right. So here's the design I was referencing, that one right there. And what it does, it just takes a little bite into that pink heart. And then this would be the fabric matching fabric color in the bobbin. Okay, and then if I had, so I'd probably have white and white if I were making that table runner. Okay,
Okay.
any questions on that?
Nope.
Here are the other ones that I used. So now you understand category 1 completely. All right, let's go to the next lesson. The reason I'm jumping around is because, excuse me, there's stitches on the quilt category, plus there's stitches on the utility category that I use in combination. And one of them is the straight stitch. So this is the patchwork 4-patch. Right there. And when have you ever done this technique?
Patchwork?
Sewing squares together?
Oh, yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
Right? Lots of times?
I've never done applique. I mean, I've tried. I probably wasn't doing it right. I'm currently working on
Let's see.
a scrap quilt where I'm making
Oh.
it. You cut them and then you put them together to make these, and then put these together. So.
There, let me. All right, now I can see it better. Oh, very good. Same. Okay, perfect. So how big are those squares?
These big ones are big. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're like 10 by 10, and then you cut them, sew them together again, and then.
Is that a Oh, okay. What pattern is that called? You made it up?
Yeah.
Good for you.
I didn't really find anywhere. I would think I was on maybe like Etsy, and just kind of was looking at stuff and looking. I have so much random material, and I just was wanting to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
But I cut thousands of baby squares. Like,
Oh, no kidding.
I'm just getting started.
Well, you probably will advance rather quickly now to our level of everything. I save a lot of scraps. I'm going to show you something that is pitiful. All right. So I showed you the picture of the placemat that I'm going to work on today. And oops. I think you can see this. I think, yeah. All right. See this box here? Let me show you. This box is from this is from HelloFresh. So when we would get HelloFresh, our vegetables and extra ingredients would be in this box. So it's a cardboard box. So I covered it in contact paper, and I actually have a label to put on the front. It's chalk paper. To label it black and white. I don't know what those labels are, but they're around here somewhere. These are all my black and white scraps. How pathetic is this?
Got a lot of white, yeah.
Look at this strip. But if I made a black and white scrap quilt like you're doing, I'd be all set. Look at that. However, I am going to make a placemat. I put placemats on our countertop because when the granite gets cold, my husband complains that food is cold. So I don't know if you This is what, does your husband complain a lot?
It's not too bad, no.
My husband never complained. This is what you have to look forward to in your golden years.
A funny complaint. I like that one. That's
So what I'm going to do then is I am going to go through my scraps today. After I make my designs, I'll share a picture with you if it gets done. But don't hold your breath.
yeah.
But I have a shelf from IKEA on my wall
Mm-hmm.
filled with these. So, and I have a tub, not a very big one, but a tub nonetheless, in my closet. So this is what the shelf looks like.
You definitely have more scraps than me.
You know what I found too? These sewing drawers were in my grandmother's sewing machine cabinet, and this cabinet fell apart. So I saved the little drawers, and these fit that quarters perfectly.
Yeah,
There's my peak purple.
I have two antique sewing machines.
Oh, there you go. You've got nice little nooks for storage.
Yeah, I don't actually put anything in them.
You don't actually what?
I don't really store anything in them.
Oh, you don't? Oh, well.
I use one's an end table, and the other one I have our vinyl record player on top of it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, well, that's a nice idea. But like I said, my husband decided to put it outside on the lanai. This is when we first moved here, and little did I realize that it was literally the moisture would get into it and fall apart. So now I know, after living here all these years, I know. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about a patchwork program. So you should have received your handout for the patchwork program, right?
Yeah, I got the handout.
Okay. All right, let me see if I can stitch up some. 2.5-inch squares. Oh, booger. So, let me grab a piece of fabric here. Okay, so I quickly just cut some 2.5-inch squares. So they look like this. Not like that. Okay.
Yep, got squares.
There. All right. Now, if you are just doing one of the squares, oh, see if I can find you my newest project.
Yeah.
I have moved on from Valentine's Day to St. Patrick's.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of these colors, so I am going to make it my own.
Yeah.
But this is a 22 by 22 inch wall hanging. And I have a spot in my kitchen that I hang things up on the wall. But see all of these little blocks?
Mhm.
That's what I would use this patchwork program for.
Yeah.
So that would be a good example right there. But this is cute. I looked at it yesterday and I thought, okay, I'm moving on. And I like the pillow too. It's cute. So so now when I cut out my blocks, I am going to switch to a straight stitch because that's the one that I use to piece with. So this is utility and select a straight stitch. Then I am going to put on my 1/4 inch foot that I got with my machine. So I'll put that on, engage my dual bead, and we're good to go. So the next step is, of course, is that you would start using your foot and you would start sewing these together. Line them up with raw edges together, right here. And there is, right here, there's a 1/4 inch line right here on the throat plate. So as long as you have this lined up with the side of the presser foot too,
Mhm.
that should be the 1/4 inch, right?
Mhm.
All right, now, let's say I had 50 of these squares. I have no idea how many I have. So I am going to do the same thing over and over and over again. So I can use what is called the patchwork program. And to find the patchwork program, you're going to go here to stitch repeat. I know that's probably an odd place to find it, but the pop-up has both the patchwork program and the single stitch program. The single stitch program actually counts the number of stitches. So now I have 1 stitch, and if you look at the screen, there's just 1 stitch. I can add 1 stitch at a time, and there's 4 stitches right there.
Mhm.
Okay. Or I can take this off, and now I can use the patchwork program. This program has been on the machine since my 2140. So it is pretty cool, and I've used it since then too. All right, so the patchwork program. Now you'll notice at the top of the screen is a little reverse button, and this is an active reverse button. So that means when you tap it, that it will go in reverse. However, when you tap this in the patchwork program, it means that it will set the number of stitches you have just sewn.
Okay.
All right, another step. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is kind of tricky to do both. This is when it'd be nice to have 2 cameras. What I'm going to do is I am going to put the needle right at the very beginning of the fabric. I'm going to lower it down like so.
Mhm.
Then I am going to stitch, and I'm going to use my foot control. I am going to stitch down to this point right here, even though my pieces are not the same. Oops, forget that. How I push the reverse button, I have no idea. This is what I'm talking about. When I first got the machine, I somehow would push that reverse button. And I would be so frustrated because I didn't know how to turn it off. So I turned the machine off. That's the only way I knew.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this again. Now, if you pick a different stitch length than 2.5, or you include the tie off at the beginning and the end, it will count that as stitches.
Oh.
And will count, you'll need more stitches to go the same length if the stitch length is longer. I should have approximately 26 stitches. I've done this so many times. All right, now I'm going to sew. And instead of using the reverse, I am going to, there it is. Okay. I am going to hit the reverse button while sewing. Booger. Okay, let me just see if I can get it to work. So see how it jumped up? You've got to hit it while you're sewing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. It has one stitch. Let me try this again. Yeah. So let's try this again. This way. There. 24. So now if I wanted to, I could add a couple more. Here's where it reads it. See, 24 stitches, there they are. 24 stitches is what it takes to sew that, or if I cut it correctly, it should be 26. So then what I do is I put this underneath, on the back right there, and I put this underneath and I start sewing. Oh, let me slow down. And it counts the 24, see, and then it stops.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually need to add 2 more to make 26. And then what it would do is, I just tap the plus, and I'll show you in a minute. And it will lift up the foot. Well, this isn't going well this morning. It will lift up the foot just a bit so that you can get the next block set to stitch. So then you just keep going and it'll stitch 26 stitches. And then the next one will 26 stitches and stop and continue on.
This is the single stitch program you're doing, not the patchwork program.
What it does is it converts it to the single stitch program.
Oh.
So here you go. So what happened was we told the machine that we want to use the patchwork program. We stitched it out and basically set 26 stitches for a 2.5 inch block. There's the 26. So now it has been converted to the single stitch program, and that there's 26 stitches. And now I can continue on piecing all my. Let's see. That should be. It's a little bit longer. No, there it is. So it's 26 stitches.
Mm-hmm.
Then what I do is to make this. I turn this back to patchwork again. You see the reverse stitch is up there. So I could use either that one or the one on the machine. And I press, and here's a nifty little tool. I don't know if you have a local sewing store, Bosch sewing dealer by you?
I do. I was looking this up just a couple days ago. I do think there is one not too far from me, and it seems like they self off and they do classes with the my sew net and stuff like that. But I've never been to it.
What is the name of it? So I can.
It's like 8 stitch or something.
Or what? Just what's your zip code so I can write it down?
Oh, my zip code is
Mhm.
455.
Repeat that.
29455.
Okay, 29455.
It's 5/8 seams, I think.
Oh, all right.
The place that does.
Let's see.
I think they self offs and do things. It appears, and they're not too far from me.
Well, that's lucky.
Yeah, I didn't. Somerville has way more sewing stores, I feel like, than Charleston does.
So I am on, here, let me share my screen so I can show you where I am. So right here on the fof.com, I can type in the zip code. So 29455. Let's see if anything shows up.
That's probably it, because it's not in Johns Island, it's in West Ashley, so that could be it.
Yeah, this one's too far away. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's probably that.
Usually it highlights what the store is. Mount Pleasant, is that where that is? Or is this you here? This is you.
That's me.
Yeah, so this is, well, that's not too far. Let's see, let me scroll in. Control scroll. Yeah, that's not very far, is it?
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, it won't let me go to it. I don't know why, but I would give it a try and just go drop in and see what they have. If there's anything interesting, that might be something.
Yeah, it seems like they do classes and different things, but I've never been in there.
Okay. Has Cindy been sending you the handouts for the platinum classes, the honors classes?
No, not that I've noticed.
Okay. All right. I'm pretty sure she sent one to me, so I'll look and see and then forward it to you. Okay, Kristen?
Okay.
I'll give you something to work on, but it's a little bit too much. So you have to just decide when you're ready to move on to the software. Okay?
Okay.
But you'll have it nonetheless. Okay, so here's my little tool I'm talking about. This little roller thingy. And this little roller thingy, I can press the seams right at the machine. The other thing that I have, I don't know if you have a little mini iron, but I asked for this at Christmas. So my husband bought it for me. And it's this little Cricut mini press.
Oh, that's so cute.
And there's also little mini irons. I know that, I'll show you the one I have. But I keep burning them because they don't regulate. That's the one I got at Walmart.
Uh-huh.
And what it does, it just stays on. So it I burn them up. And this one will come on and then it'll beep at me and then turn itself off like a typical iron does.
Yeah.
So this is pretty nice. And so then I put it right here next to my machine and then I press as I go. Okay. So then so that's a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
Or you can bring your press into at the store, of course, I'm trying to sell product, but at the store, I just usually finger press one to the gold and then one to the green, like this. So one to the left and one to the right. Then I pick them up and I match them together to get a 4-patch. And what I do, whoops. Okay, wrong directions. I press both of them to the gold. Let me turn on my little mini iron. My husband bought it on Amazon. He loves, if I give him a wish list on Amazon, he's good. So at least this time, now I get what I asked for.
Yeah.
Before, who knows what I'd get. All right. So as I said, I'll go back over here. It's not quite ready. However, I'll just press it. Yeah. It's starting to heat up. It takes a little while to heat up. Not
That
very.
little iron was for crickets.
This one's Cricut, yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted it because they had cute little earrings at Christmas time on this one woman's site. And she used them to press them together. And I thought, oh, wow, that's a good idea. Plus it regulates it, the heat. So, and it'll beep at me when it's been on too long. And see, here's that's medium heat and this one is high. So low, medium, high. And so I pressed them both to the gold. And then I pick this one up. And then I put this one down the opposite. So when I'm lining them up, I want to make sure that there, now it's ready. They're lined up right at that intersection. So that's going one way and the other one's going the other way. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now what I do is doing the patchwork program. I restart it. So I push the patchwork program again. Okay. And then I go back to my stitching and I turn it this way, obviously. I just want to make sure I'm in screen. And I start sewing. And again, when I get to the end, right there, I hit reverse right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then that sets it at 49 stitches. Okay. So then what I can do is I can sew all the two pieces together, the 2.5-inch squares, and then I can sew all those squares to get the 4-patch. And here's another example. Okay. And then this one, not bad. It's okay. Let's see if I press it. This is I'm not a quilter, so these are my tricks that I use to make it easier on myself. So now what I do is I take this and I press it open, trying not to burn my fingers. There we go. There. So you have scraps, you can definitely do this type of sample. Okie doke.
Yeah.
All righty. There you go. All righty. So let me get my mess over here. So let's see what we're doing next. So according to my handouts, we're doing machine applique.
Yes.
And machine applique. Come on, cooperate. So machine applique is what I do most of the time. So my pattern here that I was showing you, see this little pillow right here and this little pillow here? These are little itty bitty pillows. They're so cute though. And they are designed to stitch all the way around right here with the applique stitch. Okay, same way with this one. Now these are, it's a big sheet of patterns. Right. And what they do is they use both the mirror image. This is the reverse. And then this pattern is for the placement. What I do is I take this placement line and I can scan it into my silhouette and have the machine cut out all the pieces. Now, I just did that for a class I'm teaching this week. And the pattern is deck of cards in embroidery. Yeah. This is the Kimberbell Cuties. Let me see if I can- Where's my book? Well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh. There it is, underneath the box. Here we go. So this is the pattern book by Kimberbell. Are you familiar with Kimberbell?
No.
Oh. Well, once you start embroidering, I'll get you familiar with Kimberbell. She includes the SVG files for the design. So I'm teaching this Valentine one this week, and then next month, I'm working on the sample for next month. So here's the Valentine one. It's very cute. It's hanging up at the store. And it looks like this. Pretty cute.
Yeah.
And this center design right here, the deck cards, is also in the December one. No, that's not what I meant. The March. Golly. So let me turn the page to the March. So here's the March. Okay. The difference, the basics are all the same.
Yeah.
The difference is in the center and the outside triangles. So this one has a little gnome guy. And then these are all the squares in the center. here's one square done. Like that, okay? And then these are what the pieces look like when I cut them out on the silhouette. I like the silhouette for fabric pieces, and I like the Cricut for paper pieces. So, or vinyl. I use it to cut vinyl too. But where I'm going with all of this is there are two ways to do machine applique. What I'm doing here today is on the sewing side.
Okay.
The other is with machine applique in embroidery. And you can see the little flower stitches.
Yeah.
You can use, you don't have to use the stitches that I'm having you practice. You don't have to use those. You can use a decorative stitch too, and that's where you would use the crazy patch stitch. So you could use a crazy patch and get the same results in just a different look.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is, here's our sample piece. Okay. Now, I'm not going to use a 1/4 inch foot because it will break a needle. And if you have the single hole throat plate in place, you will not be able to use any of these side to side stitches. So because I was doing the multiple stitches, I actually have the 9mm zigzag plate on. And then I am going to go to my selection, and I'm going to go into my quilting category. And we just did this in the lesson before. And number 7 was the one with the monofilament. Number 6 is the only stitch in this category here that has not been digitized with monofilament thread.
Okay.
So what I'm going, this is the one that I used on my pillow for sunshine. Right there. Okay.
Mhm.
When I select the question mark and I tap this, it says it's a pin stitch and it's a decorative edge. But realize I could use 19, I could use 12, 11, and do the same thing that I did with stitch number 2. Put the matching thread in the needle with a contrasting bobbin or matching the fabric of the main fabric. So I would use yellow and yellow if I wanted it to blend. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I am going to cut 2.5 inch square. Square here. Okay, now I'm going to press it. Right here. And get all the wrinkles out. Then I am going to cut it on a curve. So I am just going to go like this. It's like that. Okay.
Mhm.
I can use this one too if I want. I got threads galore. Okay. Then I use Heat and Bond Light. Have you done applique, Kristen?
Not since high school, and I definitely didn't have the correct machine for it, so it didn't look very good.
Oh, okay. What I do is I put Heat and Bond Light, I iron it to the back. And then when I put it down, I can iron it and it's not moving anywhere. It's staying, it's stuck to where it's supposed to be. And I'll show you, I'm teaching that part this week. So what I would have done is just iron this in place based on the placement line in the stitch out.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can glue it too. And they have fabric glue, which doesn't gum up your needle. And this one, oh, I gotta get a new, it's all dried up. There's my, oh, look at that. It's all, I don't know if you can see that, but it's all dried up. So they have these little inserts here. And that's one of the things you would get at your local quilt store. See, they come out like this. Can you see that? This is what it looks like. Here, let me lower that. See that little bullet kind of thing? That's
Yeah.
what goes in when you buy a refill.
Oh, okay.
Do I have any refills? No. Typical. And both of them need a refill. So I guess I better put that on my list for Monday when I go back to work. But you can glue those in place. And it just makes it easier. So I have to leave these out or I'll forget. You know, I go to the store twice a week and I could go there anytime, but I always seem to forget something that I need. But the point is to glue this down to make it easier to stitch. So I'm just going to put, because this is a sample, I'm just going to put glue stick. The purple glue, have you ever seen those glue sticks with the purple?
Yeah.
That works better than this Scotch glue stick.
Okay.
This works great on paper, not so much on fabric. But I use it in a pinch. So now I'm going to put this over here. And I'm going to put this underneath my machine. And let me move this back up again. So when I pick this stitch, it says that I need foot 1A. I need to engage the dual feed right here, and then I need a stabilizer. For the stabilizer, I have put a piece of fusible fleece. Do you ever use that fusible fleece?
Mm-mm.
What it is a piece of fleece and you iron it on and it sticks. It's not going anywhere. It's really nice. I have that. I don't use it all the time, but I like to use it in lieu of just a regular batting to hold it in place, especially for these samples. Now, what I have to do is I have to find 1A, like so, and engage the dual feed. Okie doke. All right. So I have to turn off the single stitch or the single stitch program, the stitch repeat. And then I'm going to turn on the edit screen. And you can see that my length of the stitch is 2.5 and the width of the stitch is 2.5. So both of these are equal. Now, if I want to increase the length,
Uh-oh.
hang on. What's going on? My son wants to borrow something. No, actually. Okay. Back to work. So if I want to change the length on this stitch, I change the width too, to make it nice and even. What I want you to notice here too is, let me bring this down just a tad. There is a green dot that's highlighted on the left of that stitch. There's a gray dot to the right, that means it's hidden. If I tap this gray dot, I now get the needle position. And as you can see, this needle position starts directly in the center. I prefer that. That's what I like to do. However, you can move this over if you want and move it over to the right of center.
Okay.
So when you look at the needle, it's to the right of center. But I prefer the center stitch, center. So I'm going to put it back to the center. There. So now it's back to, I just tapped the screen until it was back to 0, 0. And then I can tap this again and it brings me the width. But I'm going to go back to the way it's set by machine, 2.5, 2.5. And here's the active stitch technology. So that's what 50 is normal for active stitch. And then I'm going to go over here and I want to show you the markings on the foot. So when you look at the foot, you'll see there are red markings on it. There's the center, and then this is 1/4 of an inch, and that's 1/4 of an inch. So you can move your needle to here if you wanted to stitch to the center of the line. I'm going to start at the center line. So what I do is I take I'm going to do a straight edge first. So I'm going to do this straight edge and the stitch swings in. And so what I'm going to do, let me take this off, show you. So what I do is I line it up. There you go. See how I line it up with a raw edge?
Yeah.
Okay. And snap this in place, back in place. Engage a dual feed. And I'm leaving my thread in. And lowering the needle right to this edge right here. Then I'm going to lower the foot, and I'm using that as my guideline. Let me I'm sewing it so that it stitches. Let me see if I can zoom in so that it stitches and bites to the left. Okay. And then I'm going to go all the way down here. Right there. And cut. So it looks like that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Kind of hard to see because the light's shining through.
I can see it.
You can see it good.
Yeah.
All right. Now you do get a little bit of a whiskers, and see that's eliminated when you use a heat and bond because it seals that right in place. But some people don't like the heat and bond on their applique because it makes whatever project they're using, quilt or wall hanging, whatever. I just snip those whiskers. It makes it too stiff.
Oh, okay.
So it's not soft. Although we do have a iron-on fusible that leaves a soft touch. Okie doke. Now, the next one I'm going to do is I am going to do a crazy patch stitch on the other side. So I'll go into here and I'll go into quilt, and the last category is a crazy patch. And let's see what we have available. This number 32 I call the chicken scratch. Number 23, let me show you that on my bag. So when I made this bag, I tried to incorporate different stitches in it so I could use it as a sample when I'm teaching these classes. And right here and right here, you can see I'm using stitch number 23. Looks like that. And see what it does is it, remember that has the monofilament, so it just rides along, right along there. And right along there. Oh, nope, that, I'm wrong. Nope, that one doesn't have monofilament. So that's good. It's in the other category with the monofilament. So here is another pin stitch. And this pin stitch, number 13, whoops, is called the Crazy Patch. And they're all beautifully decorative and crazy patch quilting. And all of these can be used whichever way you want. However, let's see what this setting is for this one. Wow, that's real wide. So you see, when you use that one, it'll be really a big long stitch. This is what it looks like. Wow, that's a big stitch. So let me go back to my old favorite, 25. And 25 is a width of 5 and a length of 6. So what I usually do is I stitch it out to see what it looks like before I change anything. And that one starts in the middle. So I'll drop the needle again and let's see what that looks like. What it does is it stitches over itself. And great. I use the scissors while it was sewing So it actually stopped right on the corner. I loved it. This is, oh, I just love this stitch. I call it the star stitch. But this is what Kimberbell uses in her embroidery designs. That one right there.
Hmm.
You see it?
Not very well.
Very well. Okay, let me try it this way. Yeah, because I use the yellow.
Oh, yeah,
See it?
I can see it better there. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't have thought to use that kind of stitch.
I
on that.
know. That's why I love playing with the decorative stitches, because you get unusual results. You don't think that that's what it's going to look like on the
Yeah.
fabric, but it does. So
Yeah, I like that one.
that's the crazy patch stitch. All righty. Now, what we're going to do on this side is we're going to use the satin stitch. And that is the stitch that I used to sew that half moon, but I used a variegated thread. Now, a variegated thread stripes like that. Let me show you the, oops. Let's see, is this the only one I have? And I have a brown one. I don't want to use a brown one. I'll use a yellow one. So when you look at this one, let's see. You see how it, I don't know if you can see that because of the glare, but it changes colors. And it's because it changes colors as it stitches along, it does what's called striping. And striping is this effect. Okay, so it goes white, yellow, orange, same repeat. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
Whereas a twisted thread, which looks like this, I use this a lot in my Halloween projects, and I like it. I love the way it looks. But the twisted thread, see, is different because it's twisted with orange and black instead of one whole yellow, one whole orange, one whole red. So that's the difference between those two.
Yeah.
I'll check for you when I get off when I send you the recording, I'll send the link for the Floriani thread, and then you can check to see if that one stores what kind of thread they sell.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to take out this, and I am going to put the variegated thread in place. All righty. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to practice a little stitch right here to see what it looks like with that stitch that I just did. And then we'll go to the next part of the lesson. Oh, I got a knot there. Right. Well. Okay. So let me see what it looks like stitched. Well, of course, it went from yellow to the white, naturally. So how do you fix that? If you want a certain color in a certain place, you pull out the thread like this until it turns, in this case, orange. And then I start again. Now it's orange. See?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that stitch. That goes way back to my 7550, which was in the middle 90s. Oh, I use that. I used it all the time. Now, we're going to change to the satin stitch. And the satin stitch is a zigzag stitch that is found in your utility program number 12. When I tap this and identify the stitch, it says it's Z zigzag stitch and it's for sewing applique. So it's designed for doing exactly what we're doing today. But we have to tweak it a little bit. When we look at the width, it's just too wide for me. A 6.0 is just way too wide. So I like to use, whoops, see how I did that? I tapped the center. I didn't mean to. I like to use a 3.6. And then for the length, I like to use a 0.8. And again, since we're using a zigzag stitch, we have the active stitch technology for the tension. Now this particular stitch calls for 2A. And 2A is the foot that is straight across, so there's no IDT. And it has a few more markings because this is often used with decorative stitches. So when I look up here, I see 2A, I need a stabilizer, but there's no dual feed. Okay, now we'll go over here. And if you think about it, anytime, see it's got a channel right here. See the channel?
Yeah.
And that is to allow the foot to go up and over that thickened thread stitch without causing a problem. So that's why they took the IDT off. So now this stitch starts to the right. I'll show you. Okay, starts to the right. So if I wanted to, I could move using my needle position, which is in the center here, and I can move that stitch to the left at a negative 2.3 so that it starts somewhere in the middle. So let's take a look where it starts on the fabric. Oh, all right, there you go. See the needle is going down right there in the center. So what I can do now, whoops, sorry about that. Now I can line this up right there. And it will swing over more into this fabric piece. I don't really want that. What I want is I want to use this center marking and straddle the raw edge. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take it back to its original setting. Whoops, see what I did? I tapped the needle with. There, now it's back to its original setting, which is to the right of center. And now I gotta check to see, now it's at 3.9 because I touched it accidentally. So let me put it back to 3.6. Okie doke. So now it's off. What I'm going to do is I am going to align whoops, the raw edge. There we go. So I'm going to put the raw edge or the cut edge along that center marking again. And I am going to start stitching the satins. Whoops. Now see what it did is it swung over to the right. So now I got to make sure that it swings over right, left, right. I'm just using that red mark as my alignment. This satin stitch is great for curves because you can manipulate it.
Mm-hmm.
See, now what's happening is, see, this is coming poofing, kind of poofing up because we don't have the dual feed in place. So I have to kind of smooth it down. Could I use 1A? I think so. And sometimes, depending on how you reduce it, it may change the, whoops, sorry. It may change the foot recommendation. Oops. Now I went off a little bit, but you can see a much better. Yeah, let me see if I can. Let me do it a different way. I got whiskers here. And whiskers are what people really hate when they're doing applique.
Mm-hmm.
So there's where I went off again. So you could actually, in order to eliminate the whiskers, you could move your foot a little bit over to make sure you encase the entire raw edge. And see how it goes from yellow to white to yellow to orange,
Mm-hmm.
to yellow. It looks neat when you do decorative stitches. If you do any length of a decorative stitch, because it changes right in that length of stitch. Okay, so now we're going to go back to we're going to go take a look at this sample. And this is that invisible stitch that you would use. That would be another one that you could use for that heart. And the invisible stitch is used because there is a piece of fabric on the back side of this. And the directions for the heart explains thoroughly how to do this. So we're running out of time here, so I think I might just quickly see if I can make a heart. Well, first of all, I'm All right, I gotta get some stabilizer, what they're talking about. So are you familiar with Pellon Shape Flex?
Nope.
Okay. Pellon Shape Flex, I buy by the yard. Where is my yard? By the bolt, I'm sorry, by the bolt. They buy a whole bolt. And what I'm going to do is it has bubbles on this side. You can actually feel the bubbles. It's rough on this side and smooth on the other. And I am going to cut it to fit. Oops. I back all of our embroidery because I mainly do embroidery. I back all of the embroidery pieces that are the main pieces. I back them with the Pellon Shape Flex. You'll see it, it's on the, I know you can't see it, but it's back here so that it adds more stabilization for the embroidery. So it's called Pellon Shape Flex SF 101.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you stitch it together with your piece of fabric. Okay, now I am going to see if I can make a small heart to fit there. We'll see. I should probably draw it. Let me see if I can draw a heart. Time will tell. So I'll fold it over like this. And I'll just draw a heart. Oh, that's a terrible heart. There. Awful. But that's okay. It works. So I'm going to start on the corner. I am going to go back to a straight stitch. I certainly don't want a satin stitch. And I am going to go back to my 1/4 inch foot, even though I'm not sewing a 1/4 inch. And I have the rough side out. So I know you can't see it, but the rough side's out. And then I'm going to sew on my marked line. Now this is a time when I would reduce the stitch length to a 2.0 or even a 1.8, 1.5. Because what it will do is it'll sew little bitty stitches. So I have to make sure I sew on the line and I'll have more control on a curved edge. I know you can't see this. Let me see if I can, there, that's better. Okay, so I'm just sewing right on that line. All right, let me finish sewing. You get the idea. So it's nice and curved. Oh boy. And then I stop it. I just turn it. And I'll turn it this way. This way. Okay. Then I'm going to cut it close, but not real close. Oh, that's terrible. This is going to be a funky looking heart. Okay. And then I'm going to snip. Okay, so I'm going to snip right here and just snip a little cut. And cut a slit down here. And the reason for that is we're going to iron this in place. And I'm just going to turn it, make the hole bigger. See?
Mhm.
And then turn it around like this. So it makes a heart. Okay. Well, this is not easy. And then I have this little tube turner. I love it. Right here. It's a Floriani metal tube turner. And if I pokes out, there's like crooked part of the heart. I guess this is why you use a template. You know what? I actually have cookie cutters that are all different shapes of hearts.
Yeah, you could use that.
I could use that as a pattern. There you go. So it looks like that. And then I'll wake up my heat press. There we go. And bring it over here. Okay. Let me get there. I like to warm up the fabric too first, even though it's not warm, and press this down. Okay, so that now I have my little heart there. Now we're going to switch to that stitch that was recommended on the directions. So the stitch they recommended was in quilt category number 7. And what I should do is put pink in the top. See if this will work. Do I have pink? Somewhere. Yep. And white in the bobbin. Let me try that. All right, quickly threading my machine. And it recommends 1A, so I'll put the foot back on. Oops, and do a beep. And I'm going to go up the straight side. I probably should be able to do better that way. Put the needle down. Up again. All right. And start sewing. That's a wee bit too close. That almost looks like that other stitch. Okay.
Yeah.
But what it looks like is just I would probably lengthen that and maybe put pink in the bottom bobbin too. But that's why I practice. And that's just another example of how you could do that. Here, I use the blind hem foot right there. And I don't know if you can see that. So, and that is a little bit different. And I use the matching thread. So on the yellow rays, I of course use yellow, and then on the orange rays, I used orange.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it for today. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so.
I figure you probably have questions after, right?
Yeah.
All righty. There we go. So let's go to gallery view. There we go. So I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
Next, if you want to do the stippling stitches, those are not hard to do. You could go ahead and do that. I'll show you my sample. That might help. So the next category are all the stippling stitches. And what I just did is I made a quilt sandwich. Okay. And then I put I went down the row of stippling stitches. So I started with the first one, the second one, and I used the edge of the foot to do these.
Okay.
Now, when you get towards the bottom, starting with, looks like stitch number 8. If you look on the handout, I took a little picture of it. Stitch number 8 is wider. So then you'll need a bigger sample for that because it'll go very wide. And that's the one next to it is number 9. And that's what I used here. See the number 9? And I extended it. I made it as long as I could.
Yeah.
And as wide as I could.
Exactly.
And then I use that to quilt this fabric with the foam.
Yeah.
And then I also used some of the stitches on the machine. There's a zipper flap in here, and I used some of the stitches on the machine. Just another way of applying all the stitches to your machine.
Okay.
And to your projects. So then what's after that? Oh, and then free motion. We'll do free motion. Do you do free motion at all? Do you know what it is?
No.
When you quilt, do you do that little stippling stitch around your quilt? What do you do with your quilts when you go to quilt them together?
Well, I do it all on the machine.
Do you? What do you do? Do you do stitch in the ditch?
I'm not sure. I don't know all the formal names. I was not formally trained. I just like learned from somebody. So
Okay. Um, it should look like this if you do stippling. Like this. Okay.
no, I don't do that.
That little curly cute kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll teach you how to do that.
Okay.
Um, I was looking to see if I had a sample handy. I do not.
That's okay.
So. And then on the machine is a setting for the ruler foot. And it has plastic templates. And I'll just demonstrate how to do that. And then we'll start the embroidery side of the machine.
Okay.
All right. At least to get you started in doing an embroidery design, even just a simple one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any questions then?
Nope. I'll just
Oh,
look through
wonderful.
all the stuff you sent me and
Okay. Well, have a great weekend.
thank you. You too.
And I will be sending you the links. I have already sent you the handouts for the free motion.
Okay.
So it's in that zipped file that I sent you.
Yeah, I see it right here.
Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll send you there's very few handouts in the embroidery side because it's a lot of just showing you what to do.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All righty. Okay, we're all done. Have a great weekend and enjoy your Saturday, the rest of your Saturday. I'll see you
Thank
next week,
you.
Kristen.
All right. Thank you.
All righty, bye-bye.
Bye.
No.